This is a continuation of the repair and service of this Commodore 1084 computer monitor. Last time when we left things off, I was basically just touching up cold solder joints on the circuit board, and believe me, there are quite a few. The fault was no line flyback EHT, and this was basically due to a really crappy connection to the width control. Anyway, this has been sorted out now, and we're back in business. Fantastic. And I've just been adjusting our main HT rails. We've got a couple, so we've got 3 rails coming out of the main power supply. And then this goes into a couple more, each voltage goes into a couple more rectifiers and regulators. We've got some more voltages that are coming out of there. 5 volts, we've got a couple minus supplies, minus 12 volts, minus 5, that type of thing. I think they're used for bias voltages for the TDA chip, I'm not too sure. Anyway, so I've just been adjusting the HT presets. Pretty much all you do is you get your decent meter and you adjust the very small screw terminal. All of them, they're all regulated together. So if one voltage is down and it stays low, for example, then you know you have a slight short on that supply, if that makes sense. If all of them are controlled by the same adjustments or presets. Anyway, so now I've sorted that out, let's take a look at the picture then. I'll have to turn the 25 frames per second on, and I think we'll be able to take a better look. Here we are then, 25 frames per second, and we've got crosshatch up on there. Now if we just go over to my very fancy pattern generator, let's do the usual grayscale, colour bar and multi-burst. How well, equal the picture is, and I think that looks pretty good, to be honest. Now I have tested RGB off camera, pretty good to be fair. Focus is pretty good. I've been adjusting this picture just now. I was thinking of going in depth on how to do a convergence, but I did actually take part of the video doing the convergence. But I don't think I'm going to add it into this video, it's just far too boring, and considering the first part was about 20 something minutes long, do you really want to see me adjusting the convergence and geometry on this? I don't think so. I wouldn't, to be honest. It sounds fucking boring. So here we are, completely irrelevant of course, but in here I've got a kit radio from the, well, the woman said it was, she thought it was from the 1930s. I don't. I think it might be a bit newer than that. I don't know. Anyway, I've plugged it in and it actually appears to work perfectly fine. Obviously it won't be perfectly fine, will it? And I've not put it, I've not attached it to an aerial or anything. It's got these plug-in coils, look, they're hand wound, and I suppose they're for receiving different frequency bands. Anyway, we'll have a look at that in another video, I suppose. Back to this. In part 1 I touched up all the solder joints, including the poor solder joints that were on these controls, on the front controls and the back controls. Now the back, one of those does our width, and I was looking at the circuit because I found the proper service manual for this. This, just going off, and I'll come back to my original point, this is a version of the 1084 which is almost exactly like the earlier 1081 or something. So they were pretty, I mean, pretty much is the same. There isn't many differences. Uses the same circuits, pretty much the same circuits, the same parts, most of the same values as well. So I managed to figure out that we had some missing voltages, and this was due to the whip control not making good connection to the solder pad I have no idea why. Perhaps it was bumped or banged or whatever. Anyway, it's working perfectly now. I did put the thing in the oven, the board in the oven. I tend to do this because it equally spreads heat around the board, and if I've, just in case I've missed anything, the board heats up to a reasonable level where the solder I use, it doesn't melt completely, but it would resolve any cold solder joint issues. I've gone and I've checked some of the bypass components. We've got some bypass capacitors, things such as, I don't know, like a 47 mic, a couple 47 mics, 220, 100 mics, across just some of the supply voltages going into certain things. Seems all perfectly fine to me. I've used my insulation resistance tester. They all read in the megohms, so nothing really to worry about there. I've been taking some readings off the TDA chip. That is the horizontal line oscillator. I adjusted the preset for the, I believe it's called X-ray protection. It's basically EHT protection, so it stops the voltage from going or rising or running away, I think the correct term is. Trying to think what else I can tell you. It's going to be a really crap video, I'm sorry. Part 2 is rubbish.